For nearly 2 years now, the Office of Education has been heavily engaged in a concept that we call career education. And now that the Office of Education has a sister organization, the National Institute of Education, it too is devoting very substantial manpower, energies, and money to the pursuit of this idea. NIE is carrying the principal burden of model building, researching this idea, testing it, validating it, find out why it works or why it doesn't work, and then helping systems to demonstrate it usefully. Certainly it is not a product of the Office of Education in the 1970s all alone, but it is perhaps an idea whose time has come, and there are reasons for this. 2.5 million of our young people leave the system of schools, whether high school or college, or even graduating from the general curriculum of our high schools each year, either as dropouts or those who leave the system without any way of proceeding usefully and proudly to an occupation. We hold that this is not good enough. No one should leave the system without a readiness for the world of work. The time has come to relate occupational learning intimately, warmly, proudly, and unashamedly with intellectual pursuits of all kinds. It was Whitehead who said that if learning cannot be useful, then it is not learning. And it is in this context that we're searching out this idea. Right now, there are throughout the United States investments with Office of Education resources, state resources, and local resources, reaching over 750,000 young people in experimental programs. This is indeed a very large idea, and we in Washington hold no monopoly on it. It's an idea that, if it is to succeed, will be the product of local school systems, local parents, local teachers, certainly local citizens. If so, it will be you who decides whether its time has come and whether indeed it will happen in your community.
You can act out a scene in America's dream. Work 8 to 5, then run for the subway. Push and never stop. You can climb to the top and live like a king in prefab little boxes. Friend, take a look at today. Hope it's worth all that pay. Together, we've got to find a better way. Make good pay, 8-hour day, feet of clay. Now hear what I say. Together, we've got to find a better way.
The times are a-changing. It's a time of unrest, an age of revolutions, political, social, economic, physical. Technology has given man Herculean power, but it has also disrupted his life and threatened his environment. It has spread abundance, but in its wake, those unable to compete successfully in a more complex economy have been left behind. This same technology, which has broadened man's horizons to encompass the stars, has all too often been directed also at his own destruction. Much of history reflects the stark facts of near starvation and frequent strife. Just staying alive has been reason enough for being alive. In 100 years, we have come from an agrarian society with most of our labor force involved in agriculture, through an industrial stage with emphasis on the production and distribution of goods, beyond even a service-oriented economy, to a post-industrial society, which more and more stresses the production, processing, and dissemination of information. In the same way that the wealth and progress of the agrarian society depended upon the abundance of natural resources, and the industrial upon capital resources, just so does the post-industrial society depend upon human resources. For the first time in history, really, an island in time and space, a generation occupying but a small portion of the Earth's surface, has reached sufficient abundance to stand erect from the grubby task of just staying alive. But then we ask, what is the meaning of life? And often find no satisfying answer. Boredom, frustration, and unrest is too frequently the response. Some, though not all of this dilemma, emerges from the frustrations of a world of work wherein we strive to make our livings. In education, the recognition of our dependence on human resources has resulted in the expansion of our expenditures from $6 billion to $66 billion in one 25-year period. That investment has contributed to breathtaking intellectual and scientific achievements in the wealthiest society the world has ever known. But unfamiliarity with the demands and pace of the new age of human resources has allowed the emergence of a dichotomy, a gulf between the worlds of the home, the school, and the world of work, between academic and vocational education, between preparation for work and preparation for life. Because our schools have not been able to solve all of society's problems, we often, in our frustration, overlook their impressive achievements. But perhaps we have overlooked a simple but basic fact. If answers to our problems can be found through our careers, perhaps what we need is career education.
In this particular in Mesa, the children themselves build the unit. We concentrate on the many aspects of living as they apply to a community or town. They talk about the service needs of a town, and we create the stores, the bank, the grocery market, the service station, the doctor's office, and the repair shops in our pretend city. In this way, they gain an understanding of the interrelationships that do exist in community living. The children then assume the roles of individuals who work and earn a living within these career areas. They become the banker, the repairman, or the doctor. And within the context of our mock economy, they draw a number of happenings or day-to-day processes from our happening box. These range from purchasing groceries to paying for dental and health services to receiving payment for their services in each of their respective occupations. Here, the children become aware of the relative values of work and of money and of exchange by following through on the actions of personal and business procedures. They each have checking accounts and deposit their earnings and then write checks for the services they require. Essentially, then, our objective through role-playing is to give the children a greater understanding of how careers interact within the community.
One of career education's emphases is to give meaning to all of education by relating its content to the job world. Another is elimination of narrow tracks which lock a youth into training or an adult into a job which prevents full realization of his potential and his ambitions. A major goal of career education is to maximize the number and range of options available to each individual at any given time in life. Career education views man as more than a working machine. We are what we believe, what we think, what we treasure. But above all, we are what we achieve in service to ourselves and our fellow man. The average man spends more time in pursuit of his working career than any other single activity. More and more young women are investing increasing years in the job market, and through career education comes the promise of greater opportunities and equality for all women in their choice of an occupational career. Yet, achievement is not limited to the labor market. Career education is preparation for meaningful, productive activity, paid or volunteer, as employee or employer, in private business or as a public servant. Career education neither denies intellectual achievement nor downgrades manual skills. Pay may vary according to supply and demand, by skill, by bargaining power, and by contribution to society. But respect and self-esteem should be no less whether craftsman or businessman, machine operator or computer technician, plumber or philosopher. Career education is neither academic education nor vocational education, and yet it involves both.
And this is manual dexterity. So all of the jobs that are listed give a number for each one of these things. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. I'll select one on investments and insurance. The first thing that I see is a worker trait group profile. Whether you like to work inside or outside. Maybe you want a career in forestry or something of that nature. Or an appraiser that allows you to get outside of the office.
And a lot of people don't like that inside work, but they're qualified.
So that's where aptitude comes in. You see, there are two things to look at with a job. One, can you do the job? And secondly, you should like to do the work. Do you know of adults who've changed jobs because they didn't like their job? Would you change jobs if you didn't like your job? Now, I'm not saying that you have to love to work. You ought to get some enjoyment out of it.
Success in working life involves good mental and physical health, human relation skills, a commitment to honest work as the source of income, and willingness to accept the discipline of the workplace. It also requires all of the basic skills of communication and computation, a basic familiarity with the concepts of science and technology, and more. It involves a saleable skill in demand in the job market, fulfilling to the individual and important to society. A skill to sell at whatever point in time the individual chooses to leave the formal education process. Education must contribute to all of these. Career education emphasizes equally the importance of guiding wise vocational choice, but protecting the individual's right to choose his own occupation. It recognizes the variety of individual learning styles, that some learn better from hands-on experience and others from abstract concepts. Career education is not something which precedes participation in the society, but is an integration of learning and doing that merges the worlds of the home, the community, the school, the workplace into a challenging and productive whole. It is not something that begins at 6 years of age and ends at 18 or 22. It involves learning and producing from preschool to an active and enjoyable retirement. It is not a narrow, lockstep kindergarten through 12 or 14 or 16-year academic ladder, but a broad freeway with convenient exits and re-entries which occur throughout a lifetime as interests, opportunities, and social needs change. It involves no once-and-for-all decisions, no ceilings or locked doors. It offers a saleable skill at any port of entry into the job market, yet keeps the doors open to return for further upgrading, progression, or change of career directions. This multiple option system allows the individual to choose among alternative occupations and re-choose throughout a lifetime as another occupation becomes more appropriate. Above all, it recognizes that we are what we achieve and what we make of ourselves, and that a society is the totality of individuals, not faces lost in a crowd. Career education is the total effort of public education and the community, aimed at helping all individuals to become familiar with the values of a work-oriented society, to integrate these values into their personal value systems, and to implement these values in their lives.
I think I get good pay and have to work 40 hours a week, and think I'd like this job. And here are some of the tools that I have the helmet to protect your head if you fall, and a telephone here to call all your men, and then you have a pole thing that you wrap around the pole so that you won't fall, and then the pole climbers.
Well, in order to be a professional golf player, you have to be honest to count the number of shots it takes you to hit the ball to the hole. You have to be able to deal with the public, and you have to be friendly with your opponent.
Several major components of career education should be emphasized. First, the interrelationships between the home, the family, the community, and the occupational society are recognized and utilized. A person's productivity and his attitude toward his job is influenced by foundations laid in the home. Family experience is a major influence on occupational aspirations. The home itself is a kind of work setting. In addition, it is a consumer of the products of the working economy and the services of the community. Secondly, the basic concept of the more formal phases of career education is that every teacher in every course at every level can contribute to occupational preparation by emphasizing the career implications of traditional subject matters.
Now,
mixture onto a wax paper, knife, cookie sheet, and refrigerate overnight.
Helping individual children acquire a set of meaningful work values should become a major goal of the elementary school teacher. Career implications are inherent in every learning experience from the kindergarten to graduate school and beyond. To emphasize such implications will provide motivation to learn on the part of all students. Math teachers can use vocational examples without watering down the concepts, and the principles of physics can be taught while integrating the occupational applications. What better way to drive home the importance of geometry than to show that not only the mechanical engineer and the draftsman, but the crane operator determining the safe lifting capacity of his machine depend upon its principles.
Maybe some of you could start out with how your moms or dads use math in their job. And just tell me why you need math.
He has to put down the mileage before he starts and the mileage when he ends. And then it records all the miles that he's driven that day. And he also has to record the amount of oil that he puts into his tank and the amount of oil that the tank that is filling will hold, you know. And he uses math by that.
Okay, somebody else? Kathy?
Well, my mother's a secretary, and what their company does, they settle strikes, like for the railroads and the airplanes. And like when they go on strikes, saying they're not getting paid enough for as far as they go. Well, she has to, help figure out how far they go and how much they get an hour and how much, a year's salary would come up to. So she's using everything in that.
Third, comprehensive programs of self-assessment will provide decision-making experiences to support career development. Personal identification with workers in a variety of occupations, field trip observation, role-playing, and work simulation, and later actual work experience through cooperative relationships between the school and employers will give meaning and substance to the career choice. Wise and knowledgeable counselors can then guide self-discovery based on experience. Many, unfortunately, in the modern urban society grow up in homes without a working household head to emulate. Others have no means of exposure to the workday experiences of their successful parents. Thus, the school has increasing responsibility to guide their experience and the exposure to the world of work. Fourth, business and labor, private and public employers, must actively contribute to the goals of career education by providing the cooperative work experience and study needed by students, teachers, and counselors. Fifth, vocational skill training, whether in the high school, the technical school, the college, the graduate school, or on the job, will provide students of all ages, both youth and adults, with specific skills required for successful entry, upgrading, or re-entry into the occupational world. Schools have become compartmentalized, so that education is organized into tight little units of time, space, and specialized subject matter. But life cannot be segmented into boxes called hours, days, and years. It is continuous, and home and school and work should flow into each other and overlap each other as a seamless fabric. Career education's goal is to make work possible, meaningful, and satisfactory to every individual. For the nature of man decrees that unless he achieves and serves, he is nothing.
Together, we've got to find a better way.